Welcome, everyone, to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, a twice-a-week sports podcast where myself, your host, TJ, and the Grumpy Old Man talk sports and shoot the shit. Now, Grumpy, they say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
What's wrong, Grumpy?
You messed the intro up again.
I try to do something different. I got to keep you on your toes.
Don't do anything different. Don't do it different.
Oh, man.
Your intro's supposed to be the same. It's not because you're forgetful, then you try to sell it as like you're doing it different.
I'm just doing it different. That's all it is.
You messed up. Okay, that's cool.
Anyway, there is a lot to talk about this week in sports. My God, from NFL trades to collapses to unfortuitous nicknames that happen to make players upset, to gambling in sports, professional athletes, top-tier professional athletes, gambling in sports. Oh, man, the MLB's new CBA. There's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a fun time this evening. And if you're new to the channel, you're new to the show, welcome. We invite you to stick around a while. We invite you to like on Facebook, to subscribe on YouTube, and to follow on Twitter. We go live every single Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every single Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure, again, you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter, Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah. And I think we should mention that a couple of times during the podcast. Because if people don't jump on right away, you have to do it, later so they know, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's subscribe. Let's like.
Okay. Gotcha, Grumpy. But let's talk some NFL action. There have been a lot of trades, a flurry of trades of high-profile individuals this week. But it all started out with somebody re-signing back with the team that he said it was his last dance with. Posted on Instagram. We talked about it. This is the last dance for me with the Green Bay Packers. I'm not going to be here anymore. Aaron Rodgers signs a mega deal. I'm talking 4 years, $50 million, $153 million guaranteed, and signs back with the Green Bay Packers. Man, oh man, you talk about getting paid, Grump.
I just find it interesting. Right, we heard Aaron Donald is potentially going to retire. Sean McVay is going to retire. Everyone's going to retire.
McVay was going to take a break.
Whatever. And all I know is they throw money at them, and all of a sudden they're not retiring. They're not taking breaks. I just find it interesting. It's always about money. And I don't begrudge them making as much money as they can. Absolutely, I do not. But at least just be honest. Yeah, I want a new contract. I'm not going to retire, but I want a new contract. Just say it. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being honest about your feelings. Nothing wrong with it at all. But one thing I do want to say is, how long has it been since Super Bowl? A month, right?
Yes.
The NFL is still the biggest news in the sports world.
Yes.
Still. And It's been a month out. And it has been a day that we haven't heard something about the NFL. Man, it's definitely, it's like the 500-pound gorilla, whatever you want to call it, on the sports scene. Nobody messes with the NFL. It's NFL and then everything else.
Yes. Well, for certain it is, Grom. But going back to it, right, this set the scene for what would unfold over the next few days. Aaron Rodgers re-signs back with the Packers. And I want to say it was that day or maybe the next day, Russell Wilson is then traded from the Seattle Seahawks.
It wasn't even an hour after the Rodgers contract was announced that Denver made the deal for Russell Wilson. Not even an hour.
Yes. I knew it was quick. I couldn't remember when it happened, but as soon as Aaron Rodgers signed back, it's pretty obvious and evident that the Denver Broncos had in mind, the backup plan if Rodgers determined to return back to Green Bay. Man, oh man, the Denver Broncos gave up, I'm talking about an unbelievable amount of assets for Russell Wilson.
Okay. Well, let's say they gave up 2 1s, 2 2s, Drew Lock, who's not much of a quarterback. He was expendable. Noah Fant can't stay on the field. Shelby Harris is okay. And they swapped, in essence, 5th and 4th round picks. That's negligible. They get a couple more rounds, right? But what are you looking at for what they actually gave up? This year's number 9 pick overall, okay? That's a good pick. Next year, let's say Russell Wilson does what they expect him to do. That pick's going to be in the 20s, right? And a couple of second-round picks. And you're going to have Russell Wilson for what? 5, 6, 8 years maybe? Till the end of his career?
Russell Wilson is 33 years old. At the start of this season, he'll be in November this year, he'll be 34. He's 33 years old, Grump.
Okay. But they're a
You
team
think he's going to play until he's 41?
Okay, well, let's say he plays until he's 39.
And let's assume he starts to tail off around 36, right? Quarterbacks don't play well when they're 37. Most quarterbacks don't play well when they're 37, 38, 39 years old. I mean, like, you could still play at a very top level at 33, 34, 35, and then you kind of get to 36. Okay, kind of start to waver a bit. 37. Okay, I'm falling off a bit. 38. Okay, I'm trailing off 39. I mean, you're completely pretty much off the wagon at that point.
All right. There are exceptions, of course.
But that's a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, but I think with the new rules in football, I think you're going to see quarterbacks stick around a lot longer. They're not taking the punishment. And he's a guy, while he's mobile, he's not a runner all the time. He's a lot like Rodgers that way. Rodgers is going to be 38. He's signed till he's 42 now, or 43.
Rodgers is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, okay, but Russell Wilson is certainly a top echelon guy, would you not say?
He's definitely a top tier quarterback in the NFL. But again, I'm talking about the players that last an unbelievably long time are guys who are exceptions to the rule. It's not like every quarterback you see out there is going to be playing till they're 38, 39, 40 years old. I don't expect that to be the norm. I know Brady did it, but before Brady, Brady was a trailblazer. He played till he's 44 years old.
He's still quarterback
playing. Did it that. Okay, he's not. Playing. He's not.
He is.
Okay. But no other quarterback had done that until Brady did at the high enough level as Tom Brady did. I mean, think about how quick. I know every situation is a little different, but quarterbacks when they're 36, 37, 38, 39 years old don't play at that high of a level.
True. I'm not disagreeing with that, but he's under contract for 2 more years. And let's say they give him a 4-year extension. I mean, I think he's only 33 now. I'll just be upfront. I think he's only 33. I think he played last year.
He's 33. Girl.
Okay. So let's say he plays another 5 years, bring you to 38. I could see him doing that. Can you not see that out of Russell Wilson?
We're talking about top tier production. That's what you're paying for. You're giving up 2 firsts, 2 seconds. I know you don't like Noah Fant. Noah Fant is not, we can't stay on the field. Noah Fant is good.
I didn't say I didn't like him. I said he's hurt all the time. There's a difference. If he could stay healthy, he could be a weapon. But his first 2 years, he's not been able to stay healthy.
Okay, that's not even correct. He started 11 games his first season, played in all 16 games. His second year in 2020, he started 14 games, played in 15. This last year, he started 16 games and played 16. He missed one game last year.
He was banged up, though. Even though he was playing, he was banged up. I'm just saying, I mean, how do I know? He's been on my fantasy team because I like him. But he's always banged up. Always. He's always got some nagging injury. He's just not consistent. Not for me. Here's the thing. I don't think – what's the one thing Denver was missing? The one thing they were missing? Quarterback. What do you need to win in the NFL? Quarterback. That AFC West is going to be sensational next year. Khalil Mack got traded today.
Hold on. Let's not jump ahead, Grump. Let's not jump, buddy, because we got to talk about the Khalil Mack trade. Let's talk about this trade right here first, please. Let's not jump and deviate away from it, and then we just leave the topic altogether, because I still think there's a lot to actually look at regarding this trade, Grump.
Okay. I think it's a good deal for Denver to get Russell Wilson or to get any top-flight quarterback because their defense is stellar. They have the running backs. They're able to control the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line is pretty good. They were just missing a quarterback. I'm not saying that they're a Super Bowl favorite, but they're certainly going to be a team that's going to be in the playoff mix without a doubt. I would not be surprised. You're going to find a good team from the AFC West next year, possibly not making the playoffs.
Let's talk about Russell Wilson. Let's talk about his performance as of recent, right? Last year, I don't care that he had a dip in his play last year, right? There was a lot of items that happened. Russell Wilson has a lot of talented players around him for that Seattle team, right? I mean, you look at it, he's had DK Metcalf for quite some time. He's had Tyler Lockett for quite some time. The guy's had talent around him, Grump. I mean, you're going to this Denver team. The Denver wide receiver core is decent, no doubt about it. I'm just saying, I've seen that Denver offensive line. They're pretty woeful. I don't know. This is a team where Seattle needed to rebuild. I mean, there was no reason to continue to try to go ahead and throw good money after bad. Seattle needed to rebuild. I don't think Pete Carroll should be there any longer. Simple as that, too. It's time to try to revamp, rebuild, look at going forward. You've got the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. If you feel like any quarterback out there in this year's draft could be productive for you, you could trade up, or maybe a quarterback falls right into your lap. You've got to be, maybe you like Willis in this year's draft. Maybe you like the fact that he's got a very high upside, and you go ahead and take a gamble and a flyer on a guy like Willis. All I'm saying is this: they needed to rebuild, and that's what it looks like they're headed towards.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Seattle shouldn't have made that move. Here's the thing: their offensive line has been poor the last few years, just poor, and that has a direct impact on how Russell Wilson performed.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, DK Metcalf, yeah, he's a big physical receiver, but he's just a down the threat guy. Tyler Lockett could be, when he's at his best, a number 2, but they don't have a slot guy. They're missing some things. Their running back situation was really bad last year with all the injuries. When you're a one-trick pony, and that's what they were with a bad offensive line, I think your numbers aren't going to be great. And that's why
that's why I said I wasn't really. I said a lot happened last year. I don't really look too much at last year as a barometer of where I expect Russell Wilson to go. That being said, he's been surrounded. 2 years ago, he was surrounded with quite a cast and crew and quite a group of characters. Grump. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, that Seattle team is a well put together team, but again, you got a lot of guys getting towards a bad side of the age strain as well, which doesn't help. I mean, Tyler Lockett, right? He's no spring chicken anymore either.
Well, but see, that's what I mean. I think you're underestimating what Russell Wilson can still do. I mean, I don't know.
Hold on. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying, all right, he's now going to be taken from a team to where he's always had weapons in Seattle. Always has.
Yeah, but he hasn't had the running game because their line is so bad. Denver's line is pretty good, and they have a running game. They want to re-sign Melvin Gordon. They have Javonte Williams.
Okay. 2 years ago, Chris Carson was the running back, and he was. Oh, hold on. Last year he was hurt. 2 years ago he was not.
2 years ago he was. He was on my fantasy team. I know he was hurt. Absolutely, he was. You can look it up. That's fine.
It's just like Noah Fant has been injured all year, and he played every single game last year. Is that kind of like this?
If a guy can only play half a game, you can't depend on him. Sorry. Chris Carson's been banged up the last 2 years.
Chris Carson played 12 games 2 years ago, 15 3 years before that.
I'm just saying 25% of the games. Okay. I'm sorry. Their running game is not good. Their offensive line was not good.
I didn't say
he has all these weapons, but if you can't play, the best ability is availability, and they didn't have that in the running back field. They just didn't. Rashad Penny is another guy, right? He was out all last year till the last couple of weeks, and he came on like gangbusters. The year before, he was hurt the whole year. I mean, you got to be able to stay on the field. I don't understand. I think it was a great trade for Denver. You know what they're saying? Okay, we got Patrick Mahomes. We have Herbert in the division. We need to keep up with the teams. If we want to make the playoffs with this roster that we have right now that's ready to win, we're going to have to go out and get a quarterback. Kudos to them for going out and making the move. They got the best available quarterback that there was.
Let me ask you this. How often does it work out for teams when they trade an arm and a leg for one player?
It worked out for Los Angeles Rams last year, I guess, right?
Okay, so the Los Angeles Rams are a little different. The Rams, I don't think won because of solely Matt Stafford. I think Jared Goff was awful, and they took an upgrade, right? The Rams, though, were always on the precipice They made it to the freaking Super Bowl with Jared Goff as a QB. That's like when the 49ers make it to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Replacing him with a legitimate quarterback does take the next step. I just don't think Denver's as close as you believe. That's as simple as it is.
Okay. But here's the thing. Matt Stafford, that last drive, he had the last drive in the last two playoff games that they had. The last drive is what won them the game.
How often, getting back to the question, how often, and let's assume, hey, we give Matt Stafford a plus, right? They did make a bold move. They traded away a lot of assets. They were much closer than the Denver Broncos currently are, but it panned out. They won the Super Bowl. How often does a Matt Stafford-esque type trade where you give, and I didn't even give up as much for Matt Stafford as the Denver Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson?
They gave up
how often does that work out?
They gave up 2 1s. I mean, they gave up a lot for him.
They gave up 2 1s. The ones were both in the 20th plus, right? They're getting a 9th overall this year.
Okay. But so what? So what do you think? Denver should just sit there and not have a quarterback and just, go with Drew Lock again? You had to make a move.
Drew Lock's not the answer. Neither was Teddy Bridgewater. Are you trying to tell me you didn't feel confident in a guy like Kenny Pickett or Willis?
No. For a team that's ready to win right now,
you move it down.
Rookie?
Move the mic down a little bit. It's gonna. Yeah, thank you.
You want a rookie? You want a rookie? The team is ready to win now. So what's a rookie going to be ready? 2-3 years? By then your team won't be ready to win now. You're going to lose guys. Let me tell you something. I have absolutely no problem with what Denver did. No problem.
Okay. I'm just saying. I don't think. Right, when I hold on, what's that, Grump?
They have the best defense in that division.
Better than the Chargers?
Yes.
Bullshit.
Denver's defense is the best defense in that division.
Okay. The Chargers now have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on the outside edge. I'm sorry.
We weren't talking about that trade yet.
I'm just saying. You just said the best defense in that division, and I don't agree with that. Anyway, like when I see this from ESPN, A for trading for Russell Wilson. That's an A for Denver and a D+ for Seattle. I think this actually works out pretty okay for both teams. I'm just saying, right? It's not as clear cut of an A as some may think. I think this is probably closer to a B. I mean, Denver gave up a lot. They gave up the 9th overall pick in this year's draft. They gave up an early second rounder. And here's the thing. Let's assume Russell struggles. I'm willing to completely say, yes, in all likelihood, last year was a misnomer. It's not going to be an indication of future performance for Russell. I still think he's a very, very talented quarterback. Let's assume things don't work out well immediately in Denver. You're still giving up another high pick in next year's draft. You're still giving up your first.
What makes you think it's going to be a high pick? You're thinking he's going to flop?
If I said there's no reason to think that last year wasn't anything but a misnomer. I said, but what if? What if, Grump?
Well, you know what? Here's what I do know. If they would have went into next season with the same quarterback situation they had, they were not making the playoffs. Now they would probably make the playoffs. Their defense, I don't know where you get that.
So now you're saying they're probably going to make the playoffs. They have to play against the Chiefs and the Chargers. You're automatically penciling them in in the playoffs? Just so I understand it ahead of time. They have a really tough division, Grump. A really tough division.
That's right. That's what I mentioned earlier.
Playoffs. Pencil them in. Put it in granite. Put it in marble.
I think they were favored to make the playoffs because until the Chargers actually make the playoffs, I'm picking Russell Wilson and the Broncos over them.
Okay.
And I like the Chargers. I think they have a lot of weapons. They re-signed Mike Williams, right? Big re-sign.
A lot of money.
Their defense is not that good. No matter what you think, I don't think their defense is that good.
Okay, we'll talk about that here coming up. But this was the big trade, right? This was the first trade to set the market. Again, I think this is probably, I think for Seattle, I think it's probably closer to a C. A D+, I'm sorry, it's a little rough. And I think Seattle fans, you will be happier long term. People also forget, too, all it takes is an injury here or there, and it completely could derail the Denver season, right? Russell Wilson, we're going to talk about Russell Westbrook later, but Russell Wilson could play a phenomenal year, but an injury here or there single-handedly could sink the season there for the Broncos.
What kind of mentality is that? Well, you get injury any position. Let's just play a whole bunch of 7th-round draft picks because they could get injured.
It's the mentality I take when you trade for a QB who's 33 years old. Your window's so finite. and you're giving up next year's first and second round pick. I don't know. The NFL teams are built through the draft. They're not built through free agency. They're not built through trade. Built through the draft.
You need a quarterback. You need a quarterback.
I understand.
Without a quarterback, you're not going anywhere.
I understand.
Tampa Bay was a shit franchise. Absolutely shit franchise. 7-9, 4-12. They sucked. Tom Brady, a quarterback comes in, they go to a Super Bowl, and the next year they had the greatest regular season in their history, all because they got the quarterback with all the other pieces.
Is Russell Wilson Tom Brady?
No, but he's...
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but here's the thing. He's way better than the guys they had.
See, I don't want to have to get into this now where I have to belittle Russell Wilson because you're speaking oh so highly of him. Russell Wilson's a good QB. But I mean, again, you look at other QBs in the league, he's never passed more than 4,300 yards in a season. I don't know. It's a pass-happy league. I understand. Okay, he's still getting a hell of a lot of passing attempts. 500 passing attempts every single year pretty much. I don't know, Grump. Here's the thing. I don't want to get in a conversation trying to belittle him. I'm just saying he's a really good QB. He's not the best quarterback in the league. He's a really good quarterback. So I'm just saying it's not as clear-cut of an A win for the Denver Broncos as everybody's making it out to be. Because the Denver Broncos could very well not make the playoffs next year, and you could be getting another early pick for that. That's all I'm going to say, Grump.
Okay. Let's say that Seattle's in full rebuild. Full rebuild.
Yes, I would agree.
You dump your core. Here's the thing. And they were terrible last year with Russell Wilson because they're a bad team. They cut Bobby Wagner a couple of days ago. They're just shedding salary. They're going to go the TJ method. Just load up on draft picks and just write off the next number of seasons, I guess. I'm just saying that if Denver, what was Denver's other possibility at quarterback that you think as a team that's ready to win right now, who could step in and lead them to the playoffs?
What would give you the indication that Denver is ready to win right now?
Because they were damn good with the useless quarterbacks they had last year. They're really good defensively. You're selling them short defensively. They have the running backs. They just don't have a quarterback. Cortland Sutton is a really good wide receiver.
The Denver Broncos last year were 7-10. That's a really damn good team. You and I must have those.
Look at the games they lost to Kansas City. Look at the 2 games they lost to Kansas City.
Okay, so now we could say they lost close games. Now that's how we're going to look at things.
Oh, when you don't have a quarterback, those games that you should win, you lose. That's what happens when you have Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock as your quarterbacks. I'll take Russell Wilson over them any day of the week.
Okay. All I'm going to say is this. Crump. Denver Broncos are not as close to winning the Super Bowl as you're leading people on to believe. All I'm going to say.
Washington, I didn't say they were going to win a Super Bowl. I said, but at least they're going for it. Washington offered Seattle 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson. 3. Because they felt they were a quarterback away. Look what happens when you're the last guy without the chair and musical chairs. You get Carson Wentz.
Well, hold on. We'll wait to talk about that. I guess nobody wants to venture into Deshaun Watson. I don't know. Deshaun Watson, I could justify, right? If everything's clear to go legally, I could justify you giving up 3 or 4 first-round picks. The guy's 26 years old.
Deshaun Watson, rumor has it that because he has a hearing tomorrow, if he gets exonerated or whatever, that's going to a grand jury, Pittsburgh has a deal in place for him. He would be going to Pittsburgh.
Well, there you go. The thing is, like, I could justify giving up a king's ransom for a 26, 27-year-old quarterback. Hard for me to justify you giving up king's ransom for a 33-year-old QB when your team was 7-10.
He's one of the top 10, he's one of the top, easily one of the top, 8 quarterbacks in the league?
I think that list you could really argue on. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I mean, I think he's certainly one of the top 8. And he's like early in the season, they were talking about him until they had all the injuries as a possible MVP candidate. That's how good he was looking early in the season.
They're throwing that out there too. I mean, like, here's the thing. Would you take Aaron Rodgers over Russell Wilson? I would. Would you take Patrick Mahomes over Russell Wilson?
Yes.
I would. Would you take Josh Allen over Russell Wilson?
Yes.
I would. Matt Stafford, man, not so
No.
much. Kyler Murray, you can make an argument for. Okay.
No.
Oh, Dak Prescott.
No.
Oh, okay. He's another
No.
for you. Fair enough.
No. This guy's a proven winner. This guy's won. The other guys have never won.
I'd take a guy like Joe Burrow. I'd take a guy like Herbert over him. There's certain players I'd take over him in a heartbeat.
Okay.
Sorry.
How many of them have actually won in this league? Of all the guys you mentioned, how many guys have won in this league?
Burrow has been ultra successful.
Three. At the highest level. Rodgers, Stafford, Mahomes. The other one's never even been to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. But here's the thing. Joe Burrow's not available. So that's not someone you can trade.
Are you trying to tell me now that we could go ahead and pencil in that Seahawks defense won Russell Westbrook a Super Bowl, and their ability to run the football won the Seattle Seahawks a Super Bowl? That's what it was, Grumpy. They had a fantastic defense, unbelievable defense. They had a fantastic running attack, and they had a good QB. When everything aligns, you win a Super Bowl.
Bottom line, you need a quarterback to win in this league. Period. That's what you need. If you don't have one, you're not winning.
That's true.
And Josh Allen, even though he's not won anything, I absolutely put him above Russell Wilson. I think Josh Allen might even be right now my number one quarterback in the league. I'd take him over Rodgers any day of the week. Any day of the week. Rodgers is a choke artist.
Okay. Well,
Mahomes is the only guy that I would consider taking over Allen. Consider. I think Allen's better.
Well, let's talk about the next QB that was moved off the board, kind of shifting gears, because you and I won't see eye to eye. And again, time will tell, Grumpy. Time will tell with that. Carson Wentz traded on Wednesday to the Washington Commanders.
I don't know who's running the show in Washington, but they need to be fired.
I don't get it. That's one of those moves. It was like when the Panthers traded last year for Sam Darnold. Like, why? Why?
It's worse.
Yeah.
Way worse. They took all of Carson Wentz's salary and gave up second and third round picks for him. Think about that.
Yeah, there it is for you.
Terrible.
Yep.
They took
the Washington Redskins or the Washington Commanders received a 2022 7th round pick, Carson Wentz, and they gave up and a second round pick. And they gave up a second, and the Colts gave up a second round pick, or the Colts received the second round pick, a third round pick, and a conditional third.
It'll be 2/3. The conditional third is based on if he plays. Well,
so essentially, Carson Wentz, you got Carson Wentz at a 7th round pick for 2/3.
And you're paying all of his salary. I mean, I'm sorry. Carson Wentz proved last year that it's the bloom is totally off the rose on him. I thought, and I liked that deal, him going to Indianapolis last year, just because Frank Reich was the head coach there, and that's where he had his most success before the knee surgery when he was playing for the Eagles. Frank Reich was then the quarterback's coach for the Eagles. So I thought, okay, that's the best place for him to go. He was terrible last year. His numbers don't show how bad he really was, but in big situations, he was not good. He lost games for them because he's just not that good a quarterback.
Remember this, too. He had a fantastic cast and crew he was working with. When you have Jonathan Taylor as your running back, teams have to stack literally everybody in the box, and it should ideally open up a lot of passing room for you when they've got to worry about stopping Taylor. Simple as that. And again, I was expecting more of a successful season from him than what he had. I mean, I don't think he's the answer anywhere he goes. You think about this is a guy who originally went – think about what the Eagles gave up to select him. Was it like 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a plethora of picks? And the Colts even last year gave up a first-round pick to trade and acquire him from the Eagles. And you're like, What the hell were they thinking there? And here you think to yourself the same thing. 2 third-round picks for Carson Wentz. This is like Sam Darnold move 2.0.
I could understand why the Colts did that last year. I could understand it. He had a bad falling out with the Eagles. Like I said, Reich was his quarterback coach in Philadelphia, is a head coach for the Colts. I could understand that. This move here, I don't understand at all because he totally fell on his face last year. But what happens, right? Every team is desperate for a quarterback. Teams that feel that they can win. Washington was a playoff team 2 years ago, right? With Taylor Heineke as the quarterback. They were a playoff team, though, regardless they were 7-9.
I was about to say, yeah, I know they're a playoff team, but 7-9 is not a competitive team. It's a team with a losing record.
But their defense was good. Their defense was good 2 years ago. And then this year, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke once again. They needed a quarterback. They wanted Russell Wilson. Good quarterbacks do not grow on trees. They just don't.
They should have selected a quarterback in last year's draft. I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for teams that don't do it. They had an opportunity. They misplayed their hand.
Well, not where they picked.
You're trying to tell me, think about it. You could not have traded up for a QB you wanted.
I mean, whatever it is, what it is, they were all gone by 15. And here's the thing. The Patriots drafted, I think they would have picked Mac Jones if the Patriots hadn't picked him. I think they were picking 17th. I think they would have picked Mac Jones.
They picked 19th.
Okay. So if Mac Jones was there, I believe they would have picked him. But they were all gone by 15. I mean, nobody was expecting the Patriots to draft Mac Jones last year.
I don't know, man.
5 quarterbacks went in the top 15 picks.
All I'm going to tell you is this. The Washington Redskins selected Chase Young in 2022. In 2020, when they could have selected Herbert. Again, they've had QBs on the board that are talented quarterbacks, and mismanaging the NFL draft has cost them because they're not able to evaluate talent. And here's the thing. If you're trying to tell me they couldn't have traded up a few picks, 4 or 5 picks, in order to get themselves, a Mac Jones, in order to get themselves a quarterback. There were so many QBs on the board. You're trying to tell me they had 2 third-round picks, a second, a fourth, a fifth. You're trying to tell me they couldn't have traded up 4 or 5 picks from 19 to 14
Maybe they
or
expected
15?
him to fall. No one was projecting Mac Jones to the Patriots. No one. Everybody else had their quarterbacks already, or presumed to have their quarterbacks already. And here's the thing. If Mac Jones wasn't playing for Bill Belichick, who knows how good he would be? I think he benefited from having a good coach and Josh McDaniels working with him. Josh McDaniels is gone now from New England. I'm interested to see what happens to Mac Jones next year. The offense is going to be run by Joe Judge, if you can believe that, and
Yikes.
Matt Patricia.
Yikes. Double yikes.
So let's expect him maybe to possibly take a step back as well.
I don't think Mac Jones is all that skilled. I think he's a guy who was a safe pick, very high floor, not so high of a ceiling. That's how I've always looked at Mac Jones, just who he is. And before we get to comments, right, we had that trade that happened on Wednesday. And today, a big trade, I'd argue. I would call this a borderline blockbuster trade. Khalil Mack is headed to the Los Angeles Chargers. That's a huge deal. You talk about, the Chargers defense isn't good. This adds so much more of a punch to that defense. It's not even funny, Grump.
And the Chargers have salary cap money, so they pick up Khalil Mack. Is he the Khalil Mack of 4 years ago? No. But you have him on one side and Bosa on the other side. That's pretty good. Like I said, the AFC West is going to be a wild division this year.
Khalil Mack only played 7 games this last year and had 6 sacks. Here's the thing. The guy is going to have so much space that's going to be opened up for him because when you've got Bosa on the other side, again, always knock on wood that Bosa is able to stay healthy. If you got Bosa and Mack on the field at the same time, you're going to have a lot of havoc in the backfield. Simple as that. Honestly, that's going to be a hell of a defensive line.
Their problem was they could not stop the run at all last year. Chargers could not stop the run at all. They were one of the worst teams in the league stopping the run. They were not, I don't know where you say that they were good defensively. They were not a good defensive team.
I'm saying this is going to bring them to a good defensive team.
You still got to be able to stop the run.
I think they're going to address that this offseason as well.
Well, like I said, they have money. I'm all Chargers, good move. Anytime that you're getting a really good player, your team's going to be better. Just is.
You're only giving up a second-round pick for a guy who's an all-pro caliber D end or outside linebacker.
Why did the Bears do it? They get out of $63 million guaranteed money from him. That's why they did it. So maybe they can load up at other positions. Maybe they liked their defense enough when Khalil Mack was out to say, okay, we can live without him, but we need to fortify the offense. Maybe they didn't feel that money going forward was going to be, they weren't going to be good enough going forward while Justin Fields is on his rookie deal, that was eating up too much money. Now we can reload, and maybe while he's on his rookie deal, we can make a push to a possible Super Bowl run. The NFC,
a lot of work to be done there. I know the NFC is weak, though.
Yeah, that's my whole. The NFC is weak. You got Green Bay. I mean, maybe they get to the conference game. That's it. They're not going any further than that. San Francisco still needs a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo will be traded. We just don't know to who right now. I'm telling you again, watch out TB12. Ooh. He's lurking. He's going to play next year. I firmly believe that. He will play next year, and it will not be for that buffoon in Tampa Bay. Will not happen.
Oh, man, oh, man.
Mark my words. Indianapolis needs a quarterback now. They were this close to making the playoffs last year, right? Carson Wentz lost that game to Jacksonville. That's what cost them because he was so bad against Jacksonville in week 16. That's why they didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yep.
They have a running attack. They have a good defense. They have a great offensive line. They don't have a quarterback, and I don't think their skill positions are that great either. You have Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell. That's about it from the wide receiver spot. So
I would even say Campbell. Campbell's a guy he's a number 3. I mean, that's ideally where he is. I mean, Pittman on a really good team is a 2. I mean, T.Y. Hilton's no longer what he used to be. They're a team that lacks, I think you're right, weapons out there on the outside. But you're right, the running game is so fantastic, it should open up a lot in the passing game.
That's right. I mean, they should go after, they need a quarterback and they need wide receivers. So are they looking at Jimmy Garoppolo? If Watson's going to Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh was supposedly the destination for Jimmy Garoppolo. I hear New Orleans is hot for Garoppolo. He's going to be a hot commodity now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's the answer, but that's how desperate teams are who are good and are just missing a quarterback. They are to get talent. That's what it is. But you look at the AFC. Look at the quarterbacks in the AFC. If Watson goes to Pittsburgh, Mahomes, Herbert, Allen, Wilson, Watson. Who else we got?
I don't know. I'll pull the teams up.
I don't know. That's 5 mighty good quarterbacks right there.
Yeah. Allen. You've also got Tua. Won't be Tua's in the AFC.
No. He's not.
Allen. You've got Mahomes. You've got Herbert. You'll have Wilson. You'll have Joe Burrow. You'll have Deshaun Watson.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And I don't think Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback. Fantastic athlete. But, I mean.
Lamar Jackson, he couldn't possibly struggle as much as he did last year, this upcoming year, correct? I mean, I think the running game and having so many running backs, they had the first and second string running backs for the Ravens go out before the first NFL game was played in the regular season. I think that severely hurt that team.
Agreed.
That's a team that really prides himself on, hey, we can run the football, and Lamar Jackson can also run, but it opens up so much more in a passing game when you could jam it down somebody's throats with a huge running attack.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree. They're going to get Dobbins back. Gus Edwards, who was the second string running back. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He will be better. I don't know if he's going to be MVP Lamar Jackson, but he should be a better passer just because of them having a running game, as long as everyone comes back healthy.
Yeah, I was about to say they'll have a good selection. They'll have a good draft pick this year too. Depends on what they do with it. But that's what happened. Now, there's one more story we'll talk about in the NFL, but we're going to get some comments. Alexander saying, hey, guys, good evening. TJ Grump, hope you guys are doing well. Alexander, I'm doing well. Hope you are too. Defensive back Cooper says here, Anson Carter just saying, hey, Josh Bailey. And I almost threw my phone at the TV. Oof. And he said, yellow flag on me.
That's right. Cooper. We were not going to mention Josh Bailey today. There's another Josh Bailey reference.
And the guys, we got a brawl in Detroit. Talbot left the net and went after Nedeljkovic. Ooh, oh my God, Josh Bailey scored. The Blue Jackets are literally trash. Brian B said, well, my Seahawks pick Carroll over Wilson. I've been a fan since the 80s. I've never jumped ship. However, I won't stick around with Pete Carroll. Absolutely useless.
They waited too long to refresh that team.
Yes.
And now it's over. But that's the way it is with most teams, right? Most teams are not the New England Patriots of the last 20 years. I realize Brady was there the whole time, but you're good for a while, and then all of a sudden you go back down to the bottom. You got to rebuild through the draft and smart moves. You got to get the quarterback. And I mean, people forget how dynamic that Seahawk defense was, the Legion of Boom or whatever. I think that's what they're called.
Legion of Boom.
Legion of Boom back in 2013, 2012, 2014. They were a really fantastic defense. And then as they got older and older, right, what happens? You got to pay those guys. So you're neglecting other parts of your team. And that's what happens. That's why you got to make hay while your guys are on rookie deals, your quarterbacks.
Okay. They also had Marshawn Lynch as their running back. I mean, Marshawn Lynch was dominant. Back when their defense was fantastic, Marshawn Lynch was firing on all cylinders, and you had Russell Wilson.
On his
rookie deal. I mean, that team had a lot of weapons on it, Grump.
On his rookie. Well, not wide receiver wise, though. Not wide receiver wise.
Are you going to make me go back and look at the 2013 Seattle Seahawks roster?
Go ahead. Chris Matthews was a starting wide receiver in the 2014 Super Bowl against New England. He came right from the Canadian Football League. He was starting for them in the Super Bowl. I mean, they weren't great, not skill wise. It was their defense. But why were they able to be good like that? Look at all the teams that have gotten to the Super Bowls and won Super Bowls, with the exception of Brady. Russell Wilson, entry-level contract, right?
They had in 2013, they had Golden Tate and Doug Baldwin. What are you talking about? What are you smoking, Grumpy?
Doug Baldwin, what was he? He was an average wide receiver.
Oh my God. Doug Baldwin was Doug Baldwin was an average. Oh, stop.
Average wide receivers. Nothing special about Doug Baldwin.
He had a few seasons with 1,000+ receiving yards.
Oh, everyone has over 1,000+ receiving yards now.
Not in 2015, not in 2016. They didn't.
They didn't win those years.
Okay.
They won in 2013.
Golden Tate. And see, just nobody. We're not caring about Golden Tate. You said he had no wide receiver threats. Golden Tate and Doug Baldwin are threats.
No, they're not. They're ham and eggers. They're Sterling Shepard. They might as well be Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, they just made a few Pro Bowls, but ham and eggers.
They were
worry
good,
about it.
But not great. Period.
Don't worry about it. They're bad. Don't worry, Grumpy.
Were they ever top 10 in their position? No. Absolutely.
When you're top 10 wideout, you're probably going to be top 10 for multiple seasons. It's not like you see every year there's a new top 10, Grumpy.
Well, you're trying to make it sound like they have, they had all this talent at wide receiver. I'm just saying they didn't. Period. They didn't. Their game was not even predicated on throwing the ball to those guys.
Oh my God.
It was defense and the running game.
A fantastic running back. They had two very competent wide receivers and a fantastic defense. Saying it helps. Drew L says here, NFL free agency has been crazy, and yet it hasn't even started yet. Khalil Mack to the Chargers, absolutely. Alexander says, that Wilson trade stunned me. Denver gave up way too much for a declining Russell Wilson. I don't think Russell's on the decline.
One thing I'll say about
declining Russell Wilson, I'm not sure about that.
One thing about Russell Wilson, I believe I sent you an article, TJ, where there was a general manager who does not consider him much of a leader, which surprised me.
And his teammates, I also heard, thought that Russell Wilson checked out last year. Remember, before going into the season, there was a big scuttlebutt of whether he was even going to play for the Seahawks because he wasn't reporting to camp and he didn't have communication with Pete Carroll, and there was such a toxic relationship. I'm sure that didn't help on the field performance last year either, Grump.
Well, his wife, Sierra, didn't want to be in Seattle anymore. That's part of the reason too. Happy wife, happy life. She didn't want to be there. The Giants were maybe considered suitors for him. Now I hear that the Giants are looking at Mitchell Trubisky to compete with Daniel Jones.
What a waste.
I don't have a problem with that move. I really don't.
Why would you give up anything for Mitchell Trubisky? Why?
Because he's a free agent.
Why would you pay him? Why would you pay him?
He's going to have to. He's a backup. How much money do you think Mitchell Trubisky is going to command as a backup last year?
Or this upcoming year? At least 10+ million?
You still have Daniel Jones on his rookie deal.
I don't care. Sign yourself a legitimate. Here's the thing. The Giants are not going to be successful with Daniel Jones. So it doesn't really matter. They're not a competitor. They're not even damn playoff competitors with Daniel Jones back there at QB.
Okay. Here's the way I look at it. You have their new GM came from Buffalo. Brian Daboll, who worked with the quarterbacks, was the offensive coordinator in Buffalo. Mitchell Trubisky was the backup in Buffalo last year. They must have seen something in him that they liked. Maybe they figured, you know what? Chicago was a dumpster fire, but we could have made something work with him. I don't think that's a bad move for them.
Just like Reich was the QB coach, it did help with the maturation process of Carson Wentz, and they thought so highly of him. They gave up a first and a second, I believe, this last year to trade for him, and then trade him 1 year later for 2/3, essentially. All I'm saying is this: just because they've worked with, no, this is what I'm saying. Just because they've worked with somebody in the past and they say, oh, maybe he could do something, does not mean he's a must sign or they have some sort of inside knowledge and he's a gem, he's a diamond in the rough. That's not the case.
Okay. Well, obviously they think something enough of him to bring him in, and you don't have to give up any assets to get him. That's the way I look at it. I think it's a good move for them because guess what? There is no quarterback who's any good going to be going in the top 7 picks where the Giants have 2 picks. Absolutely not.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out. I'm just telling you, Grump, you give Kenny Pickett no value or kudos.
I'm saying any quarterback.
Yeah, I know. I know you don't like Pickett. Pickett's going to be the first guy off the board, and we'll see how it works out. Brian B says, Wilson's fantastic still. The guy's been running for his life in Seattle.
Agreed.
Yeah. UC Smollett is going to jail.
Good.
Well,
He should go to jail.
I'll have to look that up there.
He should go
comments about Jerry Jones.
I don't know what Jerry Jones, did he say something today?
I don't know. He had some sort of lawsuit that's going on with him. There was so much other football news. I didn't have a chance to even look at this and to go too far in depth because I knew we were going to have a jam-packed one there, BB, but I appreciate it. Wolf, I'm a werewolf, says 33-year-old mobile quarterback, not ideal.
It
seems like Denver had no other options.
It's not woof, I'm a werewolf. It's wolf, I'm a werewolf.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wolf, I'm a werewolf. I like that one better. Alexander says he wants DK Metcalf in Miami. Oof.
Metcalf's not going anywhere yet. Miami still needs a quarterback.
Comments about Tom Crean and Bruce Weber. Did you happen to see about Bruce Weber?
Yeah, Tom Crean got he and Georgia parted ways today. I remember when he was in Indiana, he had a pretty successful run for a while there in Indiana. Boy, how that team has gone down. He was let go or, mutual, whatever, from Georgia today. And Bruce Weber, who's been at Kansas State, last 3 years have been kind of down, just turned 65 recently, and he's stepping down. Sounds like he might want to coach somewhere else in college basketball, but it's not going to be Kansas State. He got them probably as far as you could. An Elite Eight a couple of years ago, 2 shares of a conference title. So that's probably as good as you're going to get at K-State.
Well, the funny thing is, you talk about Bruce Weber. I didn't even know he stepped down today. Yeah. I don't know if you heard this. Yesterday, he said that he refuses to cut his hair until the NCAA punishes cheating teams. He was not going to cut his hair. So I don't know.
He's never cutting his hair then.
Yes, I thought the same thing. But okay, gotcha. I didn't know he resigned. I thought that he was talking about the hair comment. Fair enough. Did Juwan Howard return because of the loss?
He returned today. His suspension only wound up being 5 games for slapping / punching. What team was that? It doesn't even matter.
Hold on.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Wisconsin coach. He just missed the regular season. So I Joe Lenardi does a first 4 in, first 4 out, whatever, last 4 in, first 4 out. And somehow he thinks that Indiana, who's 19-11, is one of the first 4 out, but Michigan is safe going into the NCAAs at 17-14. I don't understand that. I mean, you're gonna have to explain that to me. Even if they do get in, it's going to be a short trip.
Yeah. Brian B also saying Tyler Lockett is fantastic and had no line. TJ, yeah, I know they don't have an offensive line. They still have weapons. Pete Carroll, coach as well. Hurts Seattle every game. Enjoy your evening, guys. Well, thanks, Brian B. TJ, Chargers defense was terrible last year. They finished 29th in total defense.
Yeah, they were not good.
Okay. We'll see how it looks now. You add a good pass rusher like that. And again, I promise you they're going to address that. They have cap space that they are going to address that this offseason.
I'm not saying, you just said that you thought the Chargers defense was just good Denver's last year, and it was not the case.
I said the Chargers. If I did, I misspoke. I meant to say the Chargers defense will be good going forward. No, you said the Broncos defense was by far going to be the best in that division.
Was the best in the division. I said their defense was the best in the division.
You said they are the best defense in that division. Maybe that's what you said. And I said, you think they're going to be better than the Chargers next year? Anyway, here's the thing. I think the Chargers are going to make additions. And again, Khalil Mack is a huge boost to that pass rush. Absolutely. Wolf, I'm a werewolf, says, I believe in the long run, Seattle has a greater chance of getting better in the end of this deal than the Broncos. I agree.
They need to get a quarterback. Now they need a quarterback. They don't have one.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Now they're going to be probably looking at Kenny Pickett if he slides, or Willis if he slides.
And then does the rookie pan out? That's what you have to wait for. It's a big drop from Russell Wilson to a rookie. Huge drop. Monumental drop.
Russell Wilson played really well as a rookie. I don't know. We'll see. Drew L says here, Casey Zizekas is injured. Oh, not good. Nick O says here, no top quarterbacks in this year's draft. Good move by Denver. I don't agree there, Nick. And why did Russell want to leave Seattle? I just know he and Owen had a bad relationship. And I think it was kind of with him and Pete Carroll. Things were at the end of the wick.
I think what you've seen the last couple of years, ever since Brady kind of maneuvered his way out of New England to go to the team he wanted to go to, then it works out where Stafford goes. And I think you're seeing quarterbacks who are older, who feel that the teams are on are really not going to be super competitive, want to go to a situation where they can win or feel happy about themselves, whatever. And they're kind of making these moves behind the scenes to get themselves off of the teams that they're currently on. It's like you see in European soccer or a lot of other sports, honestly, where guys just got, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. Long story short. Basketball, they do it all the time.
Drew L says here, oh my God, imagine if Watson goes to Pittsburgh with Deontay Johnson. A fantasy stoinks all the way. And a stupid trade by Washington, absolutely. Anders Lee had a goal. Must have been a garbage goal. 5-0 Islanders. Wow.
That's 2 goals for him today. I think he scored the second goal of the game.
Washington should have been waiting until the Deshaun Watson thing cleared up. Not like the team doesn't know how to handle bad PR. That's true. I tell you, that's true. And imagine if Mac Jones had a good wide receiver. He'd easily be throwing for 4,000 yards this season.
We'll see.
Yep. The Mac trade is like what the Rams did when they brought in Von Miller.
A little bit different. I think the Rams defense was pretty good even before then.
Yep. I don't disagree. Nope, never mind. Zizekas made it to the box for 100th time this game. Wow. And Texas is pushing for an indictment.
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow.
Hat trick. Holy crap.
First one ever.
Joke. Please tell me that's a joke. Anders Lee had a hat trick today. Wow.
Good for him. Probably an empty netter at the end.
They pulled the goalie up. They pulled the goalie down 5-0 just to give Anders Lee a hat trick.
Maybe so.
I wonder how many garbage goals.
First one of his career.
Sorokin King, 6 shutouts with a 6th shutout. He shut him out today. Well, good. Congratulations to Anders Lee, though, for serious.
He made a couple of huge saves in the second period. Sorokin did.
We probably won't talk about Jared Jones. There's a lot to talk about. We still have this. We still have the CBA. We still have a little basketball action. So I thought Jared Jones was kind of on the tail. He's on a back burner. Maybe we'll save that for the weekend. Drew L said, I wonder if Watson is going to Steelers since Flores is the coach there.
I don't, like I said, from what I understood, that if the grand jury gives him a positive ruling tomorrow, then it's all but signed, sealed, and delivered within the next week. He'll be going to the Steelers. I don't know if it has anything to do with Flores or not. But that's, again, the Steelers were not a bad team. They made the playoffs with a guy who couldn't throw the ball anymore. Everything had to be a short pass. I mean, people forget how good a player Deshaun Watson is or was. I mean, he's still only 26 years old. Think about it. I mean, that puts them right back in the hunt.
Yeah, fair enough. I tell you. And the Steelers team, they do have weapons. Chase Claypool, needs to focus on football and less with the TikTok and everything like that. And it's the same exact thing. Who was it? I know Juju Smith-Schuster was the same way. I'm like, I think Pittsburgh, some of the players need to kind of have a little bit of one of those, hey, a flip of the switch where it's like, hey, I'm a professional. We're here to win games. Not worried about all the extracurricular. We're here to be focusing on winning football games. I think it would go a long way for them.
That's on the head coach, though.
Mike Tomlin just has to handle a lot. That's all I'm going to say on that. Mario said, I thought I was having a bad day until I read in The Guardian that Roman Abramovich woke up on Wednesday with his fortune worth 1.4 million pounds, and he went to sleep and it was only worth 325 million. I'm sorry, 1.4 billion pounds. It was worth only 325 million pounds the next day. Yeah, UK froze all of his assets.
And now it kind of makes sense why he was trying to put Chelsea up for sale. Because they've also right now he cannot sell them. They cannot sell merchandise. They can't do anything right now at Chelsea. So maybe it wasn't such the magnanimous gesture that he was leading it to believe, like I was saying. Maybe he knew he could see what was coming down the pipe.
He was donating any of the proceeds. So It wasn't like he was pocketing the what the sale would have been. He was giving it to proceeds of the war, both for Russia and Ukrainians affected by the war.
So he says.
Yeah.
So he says.
Okay, that's a claim he made.
But now he can't even sell the team.
Casey went to the box like 5 times. You talk about the impact that's going to have on Chelsea if they can't make any additional purchases, and you're talking about going to be tough to go ahead and keep that team afloat if you're unable to go ahead and fund the team. I'll tell you that much. So, yikes.
Yeah,
That's rough. Joseph C says here, being a Jets fan, it sucks. The AFC has basically monopolized all the great quarterbacks aside from Stafford and Rodgers.
And I don't think Stafford's a great quarterback.
And here's the thing. I mean, like with Kyler Murray, he's a good QB, but kind of falls off at the tail end of the season, right? He's an NFC guy, but still, I mean, yeah, the AFC has a lot of fantastic QBs.
I heard a rumor on a radio show yesterday. You're interested or no?
What's the rumor? Or here's the thing. Dak Prescott's also in the NFC. But yes, what's the rumor, Grumpy?
Kyler Murray going to Indianapolis.
Why and how?
A trade. Why? Because he had that little childish fit a couple of weeks ago. That's why. And Tom Brady playing for Arizona.
Are you just going to keep saying Tom Brady's going to keep playing? You're going
to I almost want to guarantee you he's going to play next year.
Okay. How about this? You can guarantee that he plays next year. If he doesn't play, I don't want to hear any Tom Brady talk throughout the entire NFL season. Dun, dun, dun. Grump, can you make that bet with me?
I can make the bet, but I'll just welch on it, so I don't care.
Oh, there it is.
But that's the rumor I heard 2 days ago.
The Islanders got on a power play with 41.6 seconds remaining in the third period, and Anders Lee scored a hat trick on a rebound with 0.4 seconds to go. Typical Anders Lee fashion, but congrats to him. Yeah, a hat trick. It's good to see. Drew L says here, Grumpy, do you need me to give you championship fantasy football advice for next season, Grump?
Actually, I'm pretty good at that.
If I had $1 for every podcast that Grump mentions Tom Brady, I'd be rich. You and me both.
Me too.
You and me both. Before we get back, I think it's apropos that we read our ad read by DraftKings Sportsbook for our next topic of discussion. The NHL season is packed with dirty dangles, hat tricks, and big wins. And as the action rolls on, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and of the NHL, has your shot to win big. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right. A bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you could still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey Contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with the first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and bet just $1 on any NHL team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPM at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years or older. Restrictions apply. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be assessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, which is 1-800-426-2537 in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Wyoming. And in Arizona, you can call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In Colorado and New Hampshire, you can call 1-800-522-4700. In Connecticut, you can call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Iowa, you can call 1-800-BETS-OFF. In Louisiana, you can call 1-877-770-STOP, which is abbreviated as 7867. In New York, you can call or text HOPE NY, which is 467-369, or you can call 877-8-HOPE-NY. In Oregon, you can visit opgr.org, or in Tennessee, you can call or text TN Redline, which is 1-800-889-9789, or in Virginia, you call 1-888-532-3500. And again, you must be 21 years or older, but in New Hampshire and Wyoming, you only have to be 18 or older. You have to be physically present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming only. Minimum of a $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. Whew. Man, I hate that ad read, Grumpy. I hate it. So long. It's so long. That being said, Grump, speaking about gambling on sporting events, Calvin Ridley is going to be serving a year-long suspension for betting $1,500 on a football game.
Yep, kind of.
When he was also when he was away from the team.
Doesn't matter. You cannot bet on your sport. Can't do it. Cannot bet on your team. That's posted all in the locker room. They talk about it all the time. It's one thing you can't do, and they did it. So dumb. I mean, don't you have a buddy who could post that bet for you? And he did it off like, a draft app. Like
FanDuel, DraftKings. He did it off of one of those.
Yes, a gambling app. It's so silly and dumb on his part. I find it hard to defend him, honestly.
I don't care. He should be suspended, not for a year. What he did was wrong. He should be suspended. He was not freaking playing for the team. That'd be like saying, okay, if Pete Rose stepped away, right? I'll just use Pete Rose because he gambled and bet on his team, might I add, when he was a manager. I don't know who Calvin Ridley placed a bet for. If it was for the Falcons, he probably lost that money. But it'd be like saying if Pete Rose stepped away from the team, is like, well, I've had health complications. I will not be managing XYZ the remainder of the season. And he bet on his team to win when he was not involved, not in team locker room, not in team meetings, and he bet on his team to win. That's a problem.
Here's the thing. Why do you, if you're a gambler, if you're a bookie or people who know gambling, if they see that he's betting on his team to win, and then the next week he doesn't bet on his team to win, then the week after he bets on his team to win, and then he doesn't bet the next week, you know what it's saying to the professional gambler? Okay, on the game days that he's not gambling, he's betting on his team to lose.
Well, hold on. He didn't go to a bookie. He went to FanDuel or DraftKings. Okay. It's not like you have all that available information. It's not like he said, I'm the real Calvin Ridley. Look at who I'm betting on. Okay. Nobody knows that. It's not applicable to this situation.
Bottom line, you're not allowed to gamble. You're just not allowed to do it.
And he's wrong with that. But a year-long suspension is ridiculous.
But that's
ridiculous.
That's what the penalty has always been.
I don't care what the penalty has always been. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's apt. Look at how, okay, here we go. Let's take a little stroll down a little bit about suspensions, NFL suspensions, and let's go play who should get a longer suspension. Ray Rice, when he originally pummeled his girlfriend or his fiance, originally got a 2-game suspension by the NFL. Calvin Ridley for going ahead and betting $1,500 on the Falcons. $1,500 or a year-long suspension. Adrian Peterson faced felony child abuse charges. 6-game suspension for beating his kid. 6 games. Greg Hardy, who pummeled his girlfriend and I think sent her to the emergency room, originally got a 10-game suspension, but it was knocked back to 4 games. Think about that. Ezekiel Elliott hit women in college and hit women and had it on the record. 6-game suspension. Calvin Ridley for using FanDuel and placing a $1,500 bet on his team. 17-game suspension. Josh Gordon for smoking weed. 6 seasons. I don't know, Grump. I just, you know what? It seems like you can physically assault somebody without an issue, but if you smoked weed, and Josh Gordon was the poster child for getting absolutely pummeled for that, or if you made one bet on your team to win on a draft or on a FanDuel, well, you got to sit out a season. I'm sorry. I just think it's a little over the top.
Josh Gordon's substance abuse problems, he's had them his whole career, not just for smoking weed. He's had issues, okay? It's not one violation.
Hold on. The substance abuse, he had it from drinking alcohol. Once you get in the substance abuse policy program, you're not allowed to drink alcohol anymore, which is legal everywhere you go in the United States over the age of 21 years old, but you're not able to drink alcohol either. That was what his was, right? He failed the most recent one because he was intoxicated. When they tested him at like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. He drank the night before.
That's part of the agreement.
Oh, okay.
That's part of the agreement.
That's part of the agreement because you smoked weed. Now you're not going to let you smoke. Now we're not going to let you drink alcohol.
Oh my God, he's been popped so many times. I'm sorry, I had no sympathy
smoking
for
weed,
him.
which isn't an issue. But you can beat women. You can beat whoever you want. You can punch them, pound them out to oblivion. Well, you give them a few game suspension. Smoke some weed, or hey, you make a $1,500 bet when you're not playing for the team. Well, you're looking at a year plus. I don't know, Grumpy. I just think that's an issue.
Here's the problem with Calvin Ridley. There are signs up in every locker room. They talk about it all the time. You are not allowed to gamble on the game, period.
They talk about you not beating people and you not beating your wife.
They don't have those signs in the locker room. Maybe they should put them up. Don't beat
That's
your
what it is. Grumpy. The sign in the locker room is where they draw the line. Not human decency, not assault.
It's the way it is.
I'm just saying it's ridiculous. I'm just saying how they doled this out is ridiculous.
Again, here's the thing. The NFL cannot have it where it seems like people are betting on games or trying to cover spreads or anything like that, because then it's the competitive balance. That's what the whole game is built on. The whole game is built on it being fair, even if you think it's not. And there are sometimes we look at it and say, my gosh, it seems like it's not. You cannot have players betting on games, period. Because once the integrity of the sport is gone, the sport is dead.
Okay? When you bet, here's the thing. If you bet on your team to win, there should never be any penalty for you. Ever. Ever. I don't care if a Joey Bosa goes out there and says, I'm placing $10 million on the Chargers to win this next game. No problem with it. Good. He feels confident he's going to win. If you're betting on your team to lose, it's different. Completely different story. If you're betting on your team to win, I never have an issue with that.
But then if you don't bet the next week, that means that you think your team's going to lose.
Let's say just make 1 week bet. We're playing the freaking Jets, or we're playing the Dolphins, or we're playing we're playing the Houston Texans of last year. Our team's ready to go. We've got a great game plan. I'm loving what we see. I'm going to go ahead and put $10 million on us. Don't care.
Okay.
Don't care.
You're not allowed to gamble. You're just not allowed to do it, period. Don't do it. If you're too stupid, I can't help you. He deserves a suspension. Sorry.
Not a year long. I think he deserves a suspension, not a year-long suspension.
That's the penalty for it, though. That is the penalty for it. You might disagree, but that's the penalty.
You're right. I do disagree. And that's what I was trying to bring up. I disagree. You could do a lot of other crazy nonsense that are actually against the law, but you bet on a game when you're not even a part of the team, when you stepped away and you're not in facilities and you bet on your team to win, you get a year-long suspension. $1,500 bet on an anonymous site that nobody could know Calvin Ridley bet on until you start digging. If Joey Bosa is posting, go ahead.
He shouldn't have set up his account that said Calvin Ridley. He should have given it to a buddy down the street if he wanted to. He's a dumbass. He deserves what he got, because here's the thing. He knows the rule. He broke the rule. That's what you get. Sorry. It was dumb by him. Just dumb. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make excuses for him. He's dumb. He got penalized because he was too stupid to figure out a way to do it if he felt he had to gamble. Just dumb. Sorry, Calvin. Now you don't get your salary next year. I hope it was worth it.
Just think it was.
Dumbass.
I think it's an awful, grumpy
That's fine.
implementation of that rule. I'm
That's
not
fine.
saying you should bet on the game to lose, but if you're betting anonymously and you're betting on your team, I don't care. I don't care.
Like I said, that is the penalty for violating that rule, and it always has been.
Okay.
Sorry.
It always used to be that XYZ happened, Grumpy. Why can't we not say what is right, what's wrong? Why do we have to say that's what it's always been? So we're just going to blindly
Because they want to make the
what's always
penalty.
been.
They want to make the penalty so severe that guess what? You're not going to do it again. That's why Alex Karras was suspended for a year. Paul Hornung was suspended for a year. It was a whole year for gambling. It wasn't even for gambling on their teams. It was just for freaking gambling that they got popped. That's what happened. That's the way it used to be. The penalty, and it's in the CBA, right, is a year. Sorry. You signed it. You signed off on it when you agreed with the CBA. He knew what the chances were. He got caught. That's what happens. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't do it.
They're ridiculous. Joseph C. said, I think Brady unretires. He'll end up in San Francisco. It's a perfect situation for him going home, playing for a real Super Bowl contender. I do agree with that. If he goes someplace, I could see it going to the 49ers. I'm not so sure about Arizona, as you had opined, Grumpy, or heard on the radio, I believe you said.
Yeah.
Drew L. says, I don't know, Grumpy. Last time I checked, you took a big fat L in the first round, meaning I won my championship and you injured with an injured Derrick Henry on my roster.
I lost in the semifinals. I did not lose in the first round.
Guess who won in that league? Yeah.
In the money league, I came in third.
My opponent had JT and Najee Harris. Calvin Ridley gone. Maybe Matt Ryan will actually look for Kyle Pitts in the end zone for once. Oh, Kyle Pitts got a lot. Kyle Pitts got a lot of receptions last year.
He'll be better next year as a second-year player.
I never get drafting a tight end that early. Never do. And then will Calvin Ridley be a consultant for Nick Saban now?
Maybe he'll work for DraftKings or FanDuel.
Grump, do that. If you have a gambling problem,
no. If you have a gambling,
oh goodness. What's the latest on lockout? The lockout ended today. We're going to talk about that, BB. And yeah, the lockout is over. Reach agreement today. Agree or disagree? Bernie Sanders calls owners baseball oligarchs.
Agree or disagree? Bernie Sanders is a moron. I agree.
Oh man. Now I wonder where Carlos Correa is going to sign. As a Yankees fan, I want base runners and better starting pitching rotation.
I think. Talk about a guy who I think is overrated, Carlos Correa. No way. He wants more money than Corey Seager got, $325 million over 10 years. He wants like $350 million. Who'd be dumb enough to get? Well, maybe the Yankees. Who would be dumb enough to give him that type of contract? I just don't think he's that good, and he's injury prone. Another guy who's always hurt.
Frank K saying, "Who the hell was that team on the ice tonight?" Yeah, I don't know, the Islanders, but
the Washington Generals against the New York Islanders.
Yep, Scherzer and DeGrom, best 1-2 punch in baseball, I'd say. This is fantastic for the Mets. I'm just happy the season was not fully canceled. Hey, they got everything agreed upon. Let's go, Mets, Grumpy. Got to start breaking out the Mets stuff.
Free agency is going to be absolutely crazy. Already tonight, you can sign free agents now. Where's Freddy Freeman going? I know the Yankees want him. The Dodgers are said to potentially be on him now. He's going to make a lot of money.
I agree with the NFL suspending really, but should have been a 3-game suspension. I was about to say, I could understand even, let's say you said 6-game suspension. I think that's a little harsh, but I'd be fine with that. 17-game suspension, full year, 17 plus anything in the playoffs. I don't know, man.
Don't do it. Don't do it. If you make the penalty, the punishment so severe, he's not going to do it again. And what does it say to everybody else? Geez, I ain't doing that.
Buddy Boeheim was suspended after punching FSU's Wyatt Wilkes in the stomach. No foul called during the game. Comments, his dad, Jim Boeheim, objected.
It was not much of a punch, honestly. I didn't think he deserved to be suspended for the game. Maybe you could have gave him a flagrant 1, but nothing was called. It didn't even look like much of a punch, honestly. He was a little bit upset, and he did hit the guy, but I didn't think it was worthy of a suspension. I didn't. Anyway, oh well.
I'm about to pull it up, Grumpy. I mean, come on. The guy from SFU sold it a little bit.
He did. He did. Like I said, it didn't seem like he hit him very hard.
Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, that's it right there. To me, that's not deserving of a suspension.
Oh, see, that's ridiculous. Oh. I can't move. I'm crumpled. Oh no. He didn't even make contact much. He just went like.
It didn't even seem like he hit him in the stomach. He caught more of the arm, actually.
And the guy goes ahead and he lowers his shoulder, gets a little upset, goes boop. He hits a little bit of stomach. Oh, yes. I get killed.
Even Coach K came out today because Syracuse wound up winning that game against Florida State. They played Duke today in the second round, whatever it is, quarterfinals, whatever the hell it is. And they could have used Buddy Boeheim today. They could.
That's what he said? Yeah.
No. And Coach K said he didn't think he should have been suspended. And, of course, Boeheim didn't think his kids would be suspended either.
He shouldn't have been. I mean, Alexander said a lot of people are saying because he's black, the NFL wants to make an example.
No, not true.
I was about to say, I don't think it has anything to do with that. Well, hold on. I mean, like these are the NFL lets people beat their women, beat wives, beat significant others, and they give them minimal penalties. But
black men beating their
well, I'm just saying players in general. It's just the difference of, I think, what the crime is. I don't understand why there's such a huge blow on the crime of gambling if you gamble for your team anonymously when you're not a part of the team at that time period, when you'd stepped away. I don't get that. A full year-long suspension, I don't think it has anything to do with with him. I think it has to do with the crime he committed against the CBA.
You've made your point very clear. We don't need to hear any more of it.
Drew L. said Rob Manfred is the absolute worst commissioner in sports history.
I don't know. History's a long time. I can't judge, but I don't think he's great. I think he's been problematic for Major League Baseball.
Andrew L. said, are you guys Mets or Schenke fans? I'm a Mets fan.
TJ's a Mets fan. I like both teams, honestly. I like the Mets. I like the Yankees. I'm just a baseball fan, actually.
I'll be happy to watch baseball around again. I mean, the Mets were last year, but hey, I'm happy. They extended the playoffs a bit. Joseph C. said the Mets need a number 3 pitcher in the middle of the order bat to pair with Pete Alonso. I'm worried about their offense. Good thing they added an extra playoff spot in each league. Yep, I am happy about that. I always kind of get a little upset when, teams can play a fantastic season in the MLB and not make the playoffs just because so few teams were allowed in. I'm happy they're slowly extending the amount of playoff teams, right? The owners will get more money in their pockets as well.
Well, the owners wanted to expand the playoff system to actually to 14 teams. Yep. The compromise was 12.
I can't believe the players didn't want to do that. Probably got paid more.
But see, in playoffs, players don't get any extra money. They get paid based on regular season. They don't make any of the money, any extra money in the playoffs. They're not continuing.
Sure, contracts have written in certain clauses. No,
not at all. Maybe a bonus if you win a World Series, but standard contracts, they end once the season's over. That's what you get paid.
Shit.
Nothing to do with playoffs.
That basketball player looks like a member of the Bee Gees or the Bee Gees. Probably did a nice flop.
The Bee Gees?
The Bee Gees, Grumpy. The Bee Gees. The Bee Geesies.
The Bee Gees. The Bee Gees.
Absolutely.
The Bee Gees.
The Mets need miracle hot bats. Yeah. Let's go, Mets.
I liked what the Mets did in the offseason so far. Honestly.
Dominic Smith will be fine as a DH or sign Freddie Freeman or Chris Bryant. Yep, they're adding the universal DH too, Grump.
That's a good move. I always felt that it should be. I mean, here's the thing. I enjoy the strategy of having the pitcher bat, honestly, but you want to make both leagues the same.
There we go.
I think the biggest thing going forward, did you know that Major League Baseball Player Association, if the league wanted to make any changes, they had to get it passed through the Major League Players Association, where the players actually said, yes, that can be a rule change, or no, that can't. That's going to be gone. And that's good.
Yes,
That
it
is
is.
good. Interesting thing, though, the executive group, which are the ones who are negotiating the contract, all voted 8-0 unanimously not to accept it, for the players not to accept the deal, but they did anyway.
Wow.
And I'm glad they did, honestly.
I am too. I am as well.
I don't think people saying, well, how does that affect the fans? What do the fans think? I don't think the fans think anything. That we really haven't missed any games. If you miss a couple of games at the beginning of the year, who cares? We're still going to play. Even if you play 150 games this year, it's not going to be much of a loss.
We played on a much shortened schedule the last 2 years with COVID that came out anyway. So, I mean, you're going to get more games than you had during the COVID years. That's for certain. Drew L said, "What the freak, TJ? You're so uncultured." And oh my God, TJ, the Biggies, grumpy. Joseph C here also saying, "I want Kyle Schwarber and Carlos Rondon. No way the Mets give Freeman 6 years. I pray he leaves the NL East, though."
I would, if I'm the Mets, I'd go all in for Freddy Freeman. Kyle Schwarber is, first of all, he's not a first baseman, first of all. He played there with Boston last year for the Red Sox, and he was not good defensively. Carlos Rondon, I liked him. I've had him on my fantasy team. Threw a lot of innings last year. He had arm injuries by the end. He was coming off an injury the year before. You never know how long he can go, so you're going to have to baby him a little bit. I think they could definitely need a number 3 starter, but their top 2 guys are fantastic. Is DeGrom fully over his arm injury? Didn't have surgery, so hopefully that rested him some good. We're going to find out soon enough.
Got another comment here. BB says, "Will this be a trend? Ohio State offensive lineman Harry Miller, to medically retire from football, citing mental health."
It will not be a trend. No,
I don't think so either. I was about to say, now, how many games did Harry Miller even play?
I don't know, but if he was really good, he wouldn't be retiring due to mental health from college. Maybe he's upset that he's not a full-time starter there.
I don't think he's a starter at all. I'm not sure he played any games. Let's see here. Yeah, he never played. So I think that's what did it. I mean, again, it's not fun. Here's the thing. When you're a college athlete and you're not playing, it's not fun. I mean, there's no other way to cut it. If you're a guy, even if you're on scholarship, and you're like, oh, man, I'm out here. I'm just getting pushed through the meat grinder. All I do is practice. I see time in a game when we're up 56-0 against Akron State or something like that. It's not fun. It's as simple as that. It's not fun.
True.
Trying to pull up Miller here to see if I could get anything on him. I know there was a guy, I cannot remember his name, who had some allegations and was being sued a while back ago. I'm not sure if this is the offensive lineman from Ohio State or if it's a different guy. I can't remember. But anyway, moving right along here. The Mets will probably sign Rondon out of the 3 because the general manager is a moron. Top 3 pitching staff.
I don't know. Okay, go ahead, TJ.
Go ahead, Grump.
I mean, I think Rondon is a good pitcher. He's got really wicked stuff. It's can he stay healthy? I mean, that's the big thing with him. I mean, he's certainly better than Carlos Carrasco, who's currently the number 3. And remember, Carrasco, up and down last year, he's had some medical issues the last couple of years. But I mean, if you can get Rondon there with Carrasco, that's a pretty good rotation. I mean, you get anybody for your 5th starter. To be honest. But I mean, I like the moves that the Mets made in the offseason. He got Sterling Marte come in. Eduardo Escobar came in. I think that's underrated signing. Yes, they can still get a little bit better. I mean, Freddy Freeman. I mean, what are you going to do with Alonso? I guess make him the DH. Whatever. It doesn't matter. They can certainly use another bat. But I mean, I think the Mets did a nice job in the offseason so far.
There's a lot to do, though. I mean, like
every team has a lot to do. Every team has a lot to do.
I don't disagree, but I'm just saying they got a lot to add on the bats. That's for certain, Grump.
Look at how many guys are still unrestricted free agents. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, big names. Kershaw is still out there.
You don't like Kershaw very much. I always thought
I'm just saying he's an unrestricted free agent. He's another guy who's hurt.
Remember when you said he wasn't going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I said this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
He still might not be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Stop. He's a first ballot guy. Come on.
We'll see.
Come on, Grumpy. You don't think he's going to be first?
My issue was you were saying he was a first ballot Hall of Famer after his 4th year in the league.
Oh,
and I said he has to pitch more.
BS.
I said he has to pitch more. You got to throw more than just 4 years.
BS, Grumpy, BS. And then Pete Alonso and Conforto there.
They said they're out on Conforto. Mets said they're out on Conforto. He's a free agent. So, like I said, there's a lot of big free agents out there.
If he retired from mental health, then we got to make sure he's okay and bless him. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to do a great job getting him the help and support system he needs. But I'm going to tell you one thing. It could be really draining on you when you practice every day. You're not treated well if you're not a starter. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. But I can imagine not be good. I'll let you read this comment, Grumpy, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Scherzer, Marte, Escobar, Canha, and they're still not done. Not sure. I felt this exciting season for a while. And as a Mets fan, you should feel that way. I don't think Mark Canha is that good, to be honest with you. He's had up and downs in Oakland, but I don't think they're done. At least I hope they're not done. That's the one thing when you got, I think Cohen's the owner right now, Steve Cohen. He's got money to throw around, and he's not afraid to do it. That's what you want as a fan of a team, right? Is your owner willing to spend? And he's certainly willing to spend. Once again, the Yankees and the Mets, the Astros, and gosh, I can't remember the 4th team. There were only 4 teams who did not want to ratify the new agreement. And those were 3 of the 4 teams. So it's interesting to see what the players actually thought with that. But like I said, they can use another bat in the lineup without a doubt. I love Escobar. I think he's a glue guy, can play any position in the infield. You have Francisco Lindor. You have to expect he's going to be better this year coming up, honestly. I forget who the Mets third baseman is. Well, maybe Escobar will take third base.
You think that Lindor is going to be better this year?
He can't possibly be worse than last year, can he?
What a bad signing. What a bad signing Francisco Lindor was. My God.
I mean, you have Jeff McNeil. I mean, so he and Escobar can alternate between second and third. I mean, I think maybe you need another middle infielder, perhaps, just for somebody else, another body. But Alonso at first, I don't know. I mean, I know people love him. I don't know how great he is. I mean, Pete
Alonso's good, man. Come on.
Yeah, he's okay. You could certainly upgrade over him, though. Freddie Freeman's way better than Pete Alonso, no doubt about that. And then have Alonso be your DH. I mean, because Freddie Freeman can play the position too. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, Grum. Sorry.
I just feel good about what the Mets have done. I don't think they're finished yet. Hopefully not.
You hope. You hope, Grumpy. And I only want Schwarber as a DH, to be honest. I'm fine with Pete Alonso playing first base almost every day, like Freeman, but it's hard for me to believe he leaves the Braves for the Mets.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Yankees are going to go after him. That's what I think. I think the Yankees are going after him.
I don't think Lindor is. I mean, God Almighty, you overpaid for Francisco Lindor, and then I don't know, the batting, his ability to make contact with the ball just hasn't been there.
Well, yeah, he struggled last year. He's adapting to a new league. I mean, here's the thing: he wasn't great with the Indians his last year. I don't think what they gave up was too much, honestly, but. You got Carrasco. These guys are going to have to produce, though. I mean, you gave him a big contract. He's going to be there for a long time. I like him as a player. He just needs to be more consistent. Last year was not a good year for him.
Okay, and I'll ask you this, right? And even when you look at his last year with the Indians,
well, that's what I said.
What about this scream successful over the last 2 years? I'm just like, ew. Maybe, maybe these early years on, maybe he's already starting to tail off. I don't know. Are we going to see, the Francisco Lindor hitting 30 plus home runs and hitting, over 280? I don't know.
Okay. Besides, like I said, the last year in Cleveland, he was not great. Before that, he was really good. He was really good in Cleveland, and he's a good fielder as well. Last year, let's see what happens when he plays a full year in the National League now.
Okay. Let's see. He's right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And think about, can you put his numbers back up?
Yeah, I'll pull them back up. Yes, Grumpy, what were you thinking?
his numbers at the end of the year were much better because he was hitting under 200 for most of the year. How do I know? He was like my second round pick in fantasy draft last year. It was terrible. But towards the end of the year, he certainly picked it up a little bit. I just think you got to learn the league. Going from one league to another is sometimes very difficult.
I don't know, Grump. Yeah, you picked up a few hits towards the end of the year. I'm saying, but that's of course when the season was over for the Mets too. So it's worth saying that also. I don't know. Didn't play well last year. Didn't play well as last year in Cleveland. 2 bad years in a row. I don't know. We'll see how it continues to pan out. Carrasco is a free agent, Grump.
I thought he was still with them for another year. My bad.
He says, not going to lie, call me a Mets pessimist, but they always found a way to miss the playoffs. Probably what's going to happen again this season. I don't know. I feel like this year maybe they've got – I mean, Max Scherzer's fantastic and DeGrom's fantastic. I mean, Noah Syndergaard, when healthy, was really good, but he just never was healthy for the Mets towards the tail.
For me, some franchises are winners like the Yankees. Some are losers like the Mets. And I'm a Mets fan, but they've never been historically good for long periods of time, where the Yankees are historically always good for most of the time. That's just the way it is sometimes. So I don't know what TJ's doing. Looks like
he type something up, Grumpy. I was hoping you could buy me more time, but don't worry about it. TJ, look at Carlos Beltran's bad first season and came back and hit. Let's see, Carlos. Okay, well, hold on. Did Carlos Beltran ever hit 230 with the Mets? I don't know.
But he had a terrible first year with them. If you've been a good hitter your whole career and you have one bad year, okay, probably going to rebound.
Carlos Beltran's borderline Hall of Fame, no?
Yeah, they're thinking he can make the Hall of Fame, yes. I never thought he was a Hall of Fame
season,
player.
He had 266 with the Mets and 16 home runs. I don't know, 266. It's not great. It's not 230. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, he's a really good batter. He's a really good batter back in his time period. No doubt about that.
Yeah, but look at what his numbers were every other year with all the other teams for Oakland and for Kansas City. His numbers were really good. And his batting out, you change leagues, you got to learn all new pitchers. I've seen it happen 100 times.
Okay, we'll see, Grumpy. We'll see. I just hope we're not seeing a trend. Bad last year there. You're right, Grumpy. Carrasco is not a free agent until 2023.
Yeah, I thought he had 1 year left. That's fine. Here's the thing. It's not a trend unless it happens for a number of years. Then it's a trend.
So, okay, fair enough. 2 years, not enough. Okay, we'll look for 3 years. But I want to show you this. Now, this was a play that allowed Washington to at least take a point away against the Edmonton Oilers yesterday. And I want to ask you a question if we're going to start to see, is this what we should expect with playoff style and playoff called hockey? So this was a minute left, and Zach Hyman was he was skating down the ice he was going to have a breakaway opportunity, and it was an empty net by the Washington Capitals. Now I want to ask if you see possibly any infractions, because there was no call on this play, Grumpy. So maybe I'm just seeing things.
Okay, he's making a play on the puck. Oops. Yeah, looks like, hey, Ovechkin's playing Wayne Gretzky defense right there.
And no call. And it allowed the Washington Capitals in order to go ahead and tie that game. It allowed them to tie that game and force it to overtime.
Yeah. It didn't cost Edmonton. They wound up winning in overtime. But certainly I would consider that a hook for certain. I think that's a classic hook, actually.
Well, it's funny, right? They look at the difference and they look at what is called sometimes hooks and what's not. Look at this call against good old Sidney Crosby, just so you're able to see it. And sometimes this is called hook. Boop. Or a slash. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, right? It's different, right? Certain teams at different times of the game give you different calls. I'm just like, okay, that's a call against Crosby. Okay. I don't know, Grump. It's just that type of inconsistency that drives me nuts. And I saw some inconsistency in the NHL, and I'm like, well, might as well go ahead and bring that up.
True.
Want to go ahead and ask you before we switch, because we're going to be talking about Russell Westbrook. Oh, I'm sorry, Russell Westbrook here coming up. Want to ask you a little bit about PSG, talking quickly about soccer. Man, oh man. Is it more on PSG as a franchise and PSG as a club that they blew yesterday's game against Real Madrid, or is it saying more about Messi?
Messi's not the player he used to be. Very obvious. Not even close to the player that he's been. I think it's a combination of two things. PSG has a little loser in them, and Real Madrid is the absolute epitome of don't quit. They were down. For people who don't know how Champions League soccer works, you play a home-and-home series. The team who has the most goals at the end wins. Okay? PSG, going into the 60th minute yesterday of the second leg, was up 2-0 in goals.
And they had the away goal.
Away goals don't count anymore.
Okay.
Do not count anymore. Fat Boy, that's Donnarumma, the goalie for PSG, thinks that he's Leo Messi out there, winds up turning the ball over right next to his net, turns into a goal. And then Luka Modric, who's 36 years old, runs through the whole PSG defense for another pass to Benzema, actually to Vinicius, a spectacular pass. I wish I had the whole play. It was tremendous. And then Benzema gets his second goal. And then right off the kickoff, Benzema scores again. You don't even do that against a fifth grade team. And PSG gave up 3 goals in 16 minutes to lose that tie. It was, honestly, you looked at the coach, Pochettino, and his face was like sheet white is how bad it was. There's Fat Boy right there.
We'll talk about that because there's some rumors going on with PSG. But here's the thing. Right, when I look at it, look at the prior years of PSG. They've always struggled. Year after year after year, they spend an unbelievable amount of money. I'm just saying, this is a team last year that went to the semifinals and lost. And here they are getting knocked out in the round of 16 after they added Leo Messi. They added Leo Messi and they upgraded there, supposedly, with, I think Donnarumma is a good goalie, despite that mistake he made. He's a really good netminder. But they improved in net and they improved with Messi, and they have a worse result.
And they have possibly the best player in the world in Kylian Mbappe. They came in second 3 years ago, semifinals last year, round of 16 this year. Here's the thing. They don't have the winning gene. They don't have players who I consider winners out there.
Well, hold on. Hold on. Real quick. Kylian Mbappe joins. They finish. They lose in the finals. Then last year, they go to the semifinals. And this year, they add Messi. And the production's worse. And they also add Ponch as a coach, but still, production's worse.
It's a funny sport, though. I mean, yeah, it was a total collapse yesterday. They fell apart. They fell apart after the 60th minute. Just collapsed. They controlled that game. They dominated Real Madrid in the first game that they had in Paris. Just remember, PSG is a team. It's Paris Saint-Germain. In name only. It's owned by the state of Qatar.
Yes, I know.
They own that team. And they throw money, big money at everybody. That's how they get Sergio Ramos. That's how they get
That's right.
Messi.
They added Ramos on the back line, too.
He's been hurt, though. He hasn't even played for them. I think 1 or 2 games. He's been there over a year. Only played 1 or 2 games because of injury. His career's over. But they never sell anybody. All they do is buy. They somehow get away with financial fair play violations, but they don't know how to do it. And Real Madrid has history. The Bernabeu, where they play, the Santiago Bernabeu Arena, was just so behind them, and they just collapsed. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it. I turned the game off because I'm like, oh, damn, Real, because I'm a Real fan. I'm like, man, they're going to lose, but you know what? Mbappe was fantastic again yesterday, had 2 goals nullified for being offsides. And then all of a sudden I say, oh, it's 2-1. I said, I'll flip it back on. And bing, bang, boom, 2 goals within 30 seconds. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, they just have guys who are winners on that Real Madrid team.
Or is it just PSG has losers? Or Leo Messi? It's a combination of the two. Here's the thing. Leo Messi has been always branded as a guy who shrivels in a big moment. I don't know, right? The first time he won an international trophy was just his last season. It took him 6 attempts to finally win. The South American Cup Grump.
The Copa
America. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's not even really a tournament in my book. It's only 6 teams. It's not like the European Championships. It's the
know.
same 6
I'm just
teams
saying
every year.
he's a guy who always chokes, and
He's not a big game. In my opinion, he's not a big game player. He's had games where he's won games at the end, but in a big game, I'd always take a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo over him any day of the week. He's a true winner. You heard Messi say, "Yes, I'd like to go to the United States, really soon." And like, well, why? Well, because they don't play as many games there. I mean, is that what you want to hear? Is that what you want from one of your top players? And he's been invisible. I just think it's a bad mix for him at PSG right now.
so having him, Neymar, Mbappe, a solid midfield, solid backline, a solid netminder, that's a bad mix.
I don't think their defensive backfield is that good. I don't think the defense is that good. Here's the thing: it's just not a good fit. The front three don't come back and play any defense. Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar do not come back and help defensively at all.
That's correct.
That's going to hurt your team. I mean, they play in the French league, which is really the weakest of the big 5 leagues.
Well, it's actually not even considered a top 5 league anymore.
Well, no, they are.
They're not. They were ranked as a 6th. They're no longer the top 5. But continue.
Okay. Long story short, it's the weakest of the top 5 leagues. And, so it's a cakewalk for them. So they can lose games, not play great. If you're tested all year long, it makes you a better team when you get to a tournament like Champions League.
Right? Okay. I mean, I'm just saying you said they don't have a back line. Marquinhos, Kimpemba, Hakimi.
Marquinhos was terrible. He made the pass for Benzema's 3rd goal. He passed it right to him. Terrible.
I'm just saying, generally speaking, he's a good player. Again, I know they just collapsed. I'm just saying, though, I just didn't know if it said more about PSG or more about Messi.
It says more about PSG.
Made it for the finals 2 years ago, made it to the semis last year. You add additional pieces, didn't lose anybody. I would say on paper, you increased your team's ability to play, add a new manager, and now you have worse results.
You played against Real Madrid. That was your biggest issue. And here's the thing. Real Madrid is not a great team anymore.
I was going to say, Real Madrid's not great. So, you keep saying they play Real Madrid. This is not the Real Madrid of 2014, 2015, Grump.
Yeah, they won 4 out of 5 Champions Leagues in a row. But here's the thing. They have heart. You cannot – not always the team with the best players wins. The best team that wins. And if you guys are all individuals, unless the coach can get them to play together, like Zidane did and Ancelotti did for Real years ago, I don't think Pochettino has that ability. It's not like you can bench a Messi if he's not playing well, or a Neymar or an Mbappe. They're too powerful.
Drew L says here, TJ, I get the player isn't, Lindor, but Jeter batted like 271 season because he had mechanical issues in his swing at one point in his career. Everyone has a bad season at some point. I'm just saying, he hit like 250 the year before, and he hit 230 this year. That's a cause for concern.
I think Jeter actually had a year he hit under 270, and people were going crazy at Torrey because he kept on batting him second. It was a hideous year for him, and Torrey never moved him out of the number 2 hole. I remember that year.
I don't know. All I'm going to say is this: 258 the year before, 230 this year. Let's see what he does.
I think he'll be better this year. He'll be better this year.
I can't hit worse than 230, right? I don't know. Westbrook. Yeah. Say it right, TJ. Westbrook. He is finished. Nedeljkovic apparently made a huge gaffe. Andrew L. said, what are your thoughts on Brandon Nimmo? Personally, I really like him. He's very underrated.
Meh.
He hasn't moved the needle much. I think he does
not
a lot.
For me,
he's more of he's one of those all tool type of players.
Jack of all trades.
Utility.
You can play any outfield position.
Yep.
You can do better than Brandon Nimmo.
Brandon Nimmo, Grump, not Nemo.
I call him Nemo. The little fish.
Being able to pronounce anything, bastard.
Finding Nemo. That's why Finding Nemo. He's got like a gimpy fin.
So yes, now there is a story that is coming out of LA that Russell Westbrook, who is now he has the endearing name of Westbrook, is very upset that people are calling him Westbrook, and he's upset that people are disrespecting my name and disrespecting my legacy by calling me Russell Westbrook. And this all started with Skip Bayless. He's a shit stirrer that he is. Started calling him, I believe, Russell Westbrook, or at least made it more on a notable stage. And Russell Westbrook and his wife are very unthrilled about it, Grumpy.
Who cares? You want to know how you get him to stop calling you Westbrook? Hit some shots. He's always been a volume scorer, always. He's got to shoot, 30 shots a game. He won MVP one year because he's shooting all the time. His team's ever been really good? I mean, I remember that OKC team was pretty good when they had Durant and Harden in him, but he was the third wheel there. But he's always, it's always about him. Give me the ball. I'm going to shoot it. Hit more shots. 5 for 15 isn't good enough. 28% from behind 3-point line isn't good enough. You deserve the name Westbrook. Stop complaining about it. I mean, Skip Bayless didn't start it. Fans were calling him that, but he certainly doubled down on it without a doubt.
Well, Skip made it more on the national stage, and that's what made everybody kind of this. I mean, here's the thing, too. It's like the Streisand effect. I mean, and again, if they're just calling you Westbrook at the games, okay, and just the LA fans are talking about it, right? When you go ahead and cause a huge issue of it and make it on a national stage, people are now going to be like, oh, yeah, I kind of actually like that Westbrook because he's playing poorly. Now, here, I'll let you listen to this, Grumpy, and tell me if you hear the same thing I hear when you listen to it.
What I'm disappointed with Westbrook is I thought he was.
Did you
Call
hear
him
that?
Westbrook.
By accident, I believe.
But here's the thing, man. Magic Johnson's put on some LBs, hasn't he?
Magic Johnson looks like he could be playing outside linebacker D end. I mean, he's a big
D end, not linebacker. D end, maybe even D tackle.
Oh, damn.
Like Khalil Campbell.
He calls him Westbrook. I heard Westbrook too.
So did I.
But so it's funny. You're listening to everybody clamoring and coming to his defense. Like, for example, Stephen Curry was like, oh, no, it's kind of BS, and it crosses the line in terms of attacking somebody personally, their name, and not keeping it just to basketball. I'm just like, what in the hell? Well, I'm sorry. Dude, it's funny. It's a play on words. Your name is Westbrook. You can't hit the shot, so they call you Westbrick. Do we have to explain the joke to you?
Hit shots. It stops if you hit shots. The biggest thing was he was trying to play the kid card.
Well, hold on. I've got the exact quote. You want me to pull up the quote from it, Grumpy?
Sure.
Okay, Grump. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about Curry's comments, but I guess not.
I don't care what Steph Curry has to say. I care less. His name was Westbrook because he can't hit a shot. You know what? People, airball, brick, they yell that all the time. Just, it's too easy. Sorry. Change your name to something else. How about Crybaby? Maybe you should change it to that. Then maybe I don't know what they could call you with that. Just Crybaby would be work fine for me.
So this was, and Dave Portnoy posted about this. I love him. He said, this is like, again, this article is written with no satire. Lakers Russell Westbrook speaks about harassment the family has been subject to and vows to push back on Westbrook taunts. Westbrook, for example, to me is now shaming. He said, referring to a condescending nickname that makes the rounds online, seemingly whenever he has a poor performance. It's shaming my name, my legacy for my kids. It's a name that means not just to me, but to my wife, my mom, my dad, and the ones that kind of paved the way for me.
Grow up. Grow up, you loser. What a loser.
My God.
You know what he should do? Since you suck so bad, retire from the sport, give all your money back because you're not good enough anymore. That's what you should do. Nobody will be shaming you. Just say, you know what? I'm not good enough anymore. I'm going to retire.
I love how he says it's ruining my kid's legacy.
Yes,
your kid's 3 years old.
He went to a parent-teacher conference with his wife, and they said how his kid was saying his name all the time. He's 4. Westbrook. Please stop. He doesn't know anything, first of all. He doesn't know that your dad's being called Westbrook.
He has no freaking idea.
No idea. Just stop it. You know what? Shoot better. Playing better will solve all your issues. Stop. Let's
Stop
be
being
honest.
so damn selfish with the ball at times.
Always. Since he's went to the Lakers, he's been for the shits. He is what he is. Sorry. I mean, I have no use for him, honestly. I mean, to me, he was never a winner. I never thought he was a winner. He's just a volume scorer. Give me 40 shots a game, I'll put up 35 points a night. That's always the way I've looked at him. Not clutch, obviously. Sorry. I have no sympathy for him, his wife.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. His wife was getting, again, because Skip Bayless came on multiple times and it would call him Westbrook, and it was just kind of like a running joke. Now, his wife made and determined to clap back at Skip Bayless. He said, I just found, and again, she was wrong about this first part. I just found out that Skip Bayless blocked me on Twitter, which she was wrong about. He did not block her on Twitter. As though I'm the one constantly harassing him and calling him out by his name. Mr. Bayless, I'm a real person. And if you're able to use your platform to degrade my husband and constantly call him out of his name, then at least be adult enough to deal with the consequences for your actions. Don't try to erase me from your reality to make yourself feel better about your choices. I'm still here. There's no need to block me. Just be respectful, and I have no reason to respond or remind you of your reckless choices. Just do better. Yeah, okay. And she, of course, she wasn't blocked, and all this outrage was for no reason. But for the family to be having an issue with him being called Westbrook, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a guy who's been ultra talented his entire career, since middle school, since high school, since college, since the NBA, and he has been loved and adored everywhere he's gone. And now that he's with LA and the team's struggling and people are looking to point fingers somewhere, and they say, it's not LeBron's fault. Well, hold on. It's not Anthony Davis's fault. Hold on. It's that guy. It's Russell Westbrook's fault. That's the reason we're losing games. And the first time he's faced criticism in his entire freaking career since he was even in middle school, probably above, now all of a sudden it's a big issue. There's no problem with the adoration and love. A little bit of a you're not playing very well. We're gonna make a Russell Westbrook. That causes him to cry.
Wife should just shut her mouth. Shut your mouth, honey. Just shut your mouth. Collect a paycheck. Go out there, Rodeo Drive, wherever you are. Buy whatever you want. You should be happy.
She's a doctor. She's a doctor.
I mean, what's the difference, right? Here's the thing. You're making so much money. What do you care what someone thinks of your husband's name anyway? They're not calling him out. They're saying he's Russell Westbrook. Why? Because he can't shoot a basketball. So what? In the grand scheme of life, you know what it means? Absolutely nothing. Yes. Absolutely nothing. That family is making more money than 99.9% of the people who live in the world, I'm going to say. Yes. How much money they make. And what are you crying about?
He's been loved and adored, as there might be a handful of people calling him Westbrook. There's more people that praise him and adore him. It'd be like if we look at the YouTube comments and we see a whole bunch of positive comments and we see about 10 or 12 are like, your show sucks. It's unlistenable. I can't deal with this. It'd be like us saying, do better. Keep those words. Don't be so mean for us. We're just tough. We're content creators trying to put out a best show for our listeners. Don't be so mean. Dude, get over it.
Grow up. Grow up.
And this is what Shannon Sharp said. Now, this was, and again, Shannon is on the show here with Skip Bayless, and he said he has no issue with fans calling him Westbrook. He said, play better. They don't even call him boy. They didn't call him a monkey. They call him Westbrook because it seems like everything he shoots is a brick.
True.
I was about to say, I mean, Shannon, I'm sure, was called much worse things back in his playing day. Didn't complain about it like, oh, I don't like when people do this, people do that. They called you Westbrook, and that's now, I need to stop. Now, there was actually footage of him, grumpy old man, getting it into it with a fan in the stands that was calling Westbrook.
Again. Just ignore the fans.
Oh, my God. This is the crazy part about it. I'm like, dude, just play basketball. I don't know what else to tell you. Now, this is funny, Grump. I feel like you'll enjoy it. The ref is trying to say, hey, buddy, he's at the free throw line. Can we pay attention to what's going on in the basketball court? And Russell Westbrook over here is like, don't disrespect my name. Let's continue listening.
You know what?
Oh, man. I tell you, when you act like it's like the trolls on the internet where you're like, don't do this. People are just going to do it because, like, grow the hell up. Who cares?
You know what? It's apropos that his number is 0 because that's his IQ. When you're starting verbally battling with all right, look at it this way. If you're too concerned with what somebody's yelling in the stands, how much you caring about how much you focused on what the task at hand, which is you playing basketball? I'm going to say not at all.
You're not very engaged. Do you think Michael Jordan ever did that when he received criticism from other
Larry
teams?
Bird.
Do you think any of the all-time greats ever did that? Do you think LeBron James? Think about this. And Nico mentioned this earlier, and I'll mention this. I'll give him credit. He said, just like when people call LeBron James LeBum James, they call him a bum. Do you think he was like, don't call me LeBum? Put shame on my name. No, he just said, I'm tuning it out and I'm going to go work.
Bill Russell, one of the greatest winners of all time. Really, Jackie Robinson, the racial taunts that they went through during their time. And you know what? Here's the thing. Bill Russell, probably the greatest winner in NBA history, right? I don't know how many titles it was, 11 titles, whatever the heck it was. But a rock out there. Jackie Robinson. I mean, they were brutal to him. Absolutely brutal to him. And he just played through it. I mean, this guy is so soft.
Mentally weak.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, I have no sympathy for him, his wife. I'm not going to throw the kids in there, his mom and dad. I don't know them because I don't see them going on Twitter. But it's like the wife, just keep your mouth shut. Just keep your mouth shut. You come off as a fool when you make a mistake like that.
Westbrook should too. I mean, Russell should. I mean, God Almighty, dude.
His name is no longer Russell. It's Bricky LeBrick.
It's Bricky LeBrick. Well, the internet trolls had found a new name to call him instead that may be better than Westbrick. Now, I want to show you. This is the part that puts it the icing on the cake. Now this is a quote. He said, "This is the same guy that has cupcakes at his 4th of July party, playing into the Kevin Durant cupcake nickname. What a freaking hypocrite."
See, that's what I mean. See, that's the biggest thing, right? Don't throw stones. Here's the thing. If you've thrown stones before, you just better suck it up and take it. I guarantee that wife has said nasty shit about certain people. I'm going to guarantee it. Stop being hip. You know what? Don't say anything. Just suck it up. You don't see me going on Twitter ripping people.
Yep. This is the Russell Westbrook that pushed a cupcake nickname for Kevin Durant because he said he was soft. He's a cupcake out there, and he would eat his cupcakes and like pose with it and try to make jest and come at Kevin Durant, and it would add him by doing the cupcake. Oh boy, wouldn't he wish if some fans were calling Kevin Durant a cupcake, and now he's being called Westbrook, and he's having a freaking meltdown.
I didn't see Kevin Durant losing his mind over that.
Cupcake. Yeah, I heard. You didn't hear about it, Grumpy? Kevin Durant started getting in verbal altercations with fans. Don't disrespect my name. Don't call me a cupcake.
He's a loser. Another loser.
My God.
Russell Westbrook is a loser.
Well, here we go, Grumpy. I think, you know what? We should let bygones be bygones, and we should respect Russell Westbrook's name. We should. Instead of Russell Westbrook, we should call him Brick Brock. As Ian K here is saying, that's also a good one. Brick Brock.
It's Brick Brook is what it is.
Whatever you want to call it. Brick Brook. Brick Brook.
No, Westbrook is better.
I know Westbrook is better, but still, I just cannot believe a professional athlete cares, number one, about what the fans are saying as your team is struggling mightily and as you are struggling mightily. It'd be like when Josh Bailey used to say, "Hey, Josh Bailey." When they used to sing that song, if he'd be out there in post-game interviews, he'd say, "That really hurts me. The fact that you ask if I'm going to score a goal when I'm on a goalless streak, you know what, fans, I need better from you." That's what it'd be like. No, just take it. I need to play better.
You know what? He's like a heel wrestler. You know, where they chant something at you. Hey, stop it. Oh, get all fired up. Hey, not, because they're the bad guy. That's what he's like. He's just a fool. He and his wife are fools. Sorry. You know what? The way you should look at it is they're calling me that name. You know what? I'm laughing all the way to the bank. I'm making all this money that I'm not earning, obviously. But hey, it's still coming to me because all contracts are guaranteed.
And even if they called you Westbrook and you didn't like it, if you came out there and said this, you're right. I've played poorly. I need to do better. The entire team needs to do better. I'm going to take personal responsibility. This team has the talent to be so special, and I need to do better. Do you know how quickly the name Westbrook would evaporate? Because people would have a whole different level of respect for you. They would.
Yeah, not anymore. It's over.
I was about to say, now people I want to call you Westbrook just because it pisses you off. People are going to do that now. Simple as that.
No problem.
All you've done is gone ahead and exacerbated the issue further by trying to say, oh, it's ruining my kid's legacy. Dude, you didn't even have enough to say, I don't like it when people call me Westbrook. Instead, you try to say, oh, my 3-year-old child doesn't like that.
He was 4.
His daughters are younger.
They're 3.
I was about to say, his daughters are 3. Maybe his daughters don't like it either. For all we know, Grumpy, his 4-year-old son doesn't like it. He apparently can process what's going on too.
Okay.
Yeah. And then LeBron spending too many years as de facto general manager, putting together a retirement home with Carmelo, Howard, himself, etc.
Yeah, he's not done a good job as Lakers GM.
I was about to say, yeah. Ugh. I tell you, it's kind of taking a little bit of the fun out of the sport. What LeBron James did, he was the first person to do it, and boy, has it escalated. Just been downhill since there. Nico says here, classic Magic. Getting back to his days with Larry Bird. Those guys were great.
Alexander
saying Russell Westbrook can't hit a shot to save his life. Absolutely. They had a compilation of him missing a whole bunch of shots. And I'm talking about he puts him up, he's shooting, he's missing the backboard sometimes. You're just like, my God, he's a professional. Russell Westbrook choked in the only finals appearance he's ever been in. He practically robbed a legitimate chance for KD to win his first ring.
Yeah, well. He's, like I said, he was the third guy out of that 3, in my opinion.
And Joseph C said the worst thing Russell Westbrook could have done is to comment on it. Now even more people are going to call him Westbrook. I was about to say, it's like when you see like the bully in middle school where he's like calls you a name, oh, like, hey, cheese face. I don't like being called cheese face. Well, he's going to call you cheese face a few more times because he knows it gets a little rise out of you. And he's just like, okay, he's doing it. I tell you, it is something else. He's got a fragile ego for certain, and no wonder they're losing so many games. They have 4 guys paying attention on the court.
True.
Andrew L. said, I'm worried about my Spartan Dogs this year, barely beating Maryland today.
Yeah, Michigan State's underperformed this year as well. Could just be a down cycle for them.
I tell you. And then without his athleticism, Westbrook would flat out sucks as a basketball player. He never learned to adapt his game to shoot a basketball. He gets what he deserves. And this is all on LeBron, too. Don't forget the stat padding to get an MVP. I do remember that. Absolutely. Yeah, the triple-double. I averaged a triple. Did he average a triple-double over the whole season?
I don't. Here's the thing. Even if he did, it's not like when Oscar Robertson did it years ago.
Yes.
Within the acts fully. I mean, like I said, he's a stat stuffer. That's what he is. So he was a me guy. That's why he never won.
Yep. Grumpy, we're here at the end of the show today. There was a lot to cover. There's still a lot to cover. We've got a fantastic fan fight for next time. Alexander sent us, and it's a good fan fight, Grumpy. We're at 2 hours. I don't want to go ahead and use it at the 2-hour mark, Grumpy. We're going to use it this Sunday on the podcast.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love the fan fights.
Grumpy, what do you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, if you're new to the show and you stuck around this long, subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter. We will see you guys Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, that fan fight is going to be a doozy. You haven't done a fan fight in a while. Thank you, Alexander. That fan fight's going to be good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And thank you, Grumpy. Oh, also, let's end on the Russell Westbrook meme I sent you guys. Let's take a look here. Oh, no, it's that kid yelling again. Oh, Drew, we're not doing that one. Oh, I'll have to lower it. Oh gosh, that is Grumpy.
We
knows
don't see it. We don't see it.
Grumpy knows exactly who it is. I'm.
I
Hold on, Grumpy. Give me a sec, huh? When Westbrook and his family to the NBA. That guy, I tell you, that little son, I cannot do that voice. I know he's been a meme around for a long time, that guy yelling at that Sonic. But thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Grumpy.
My pleasure.